Well, greetings, fellow YouTubers. This is the Budget Army channel, yet another exciting video for your viewing pleasure. If I seem a little out of it, it's because I received a summons a few weeks ago to appear for jury duty today, and it was a long day. Now, in the state of North Carolina, where I live, they use what's called a unified court system. So the courts work the exact same way across the entire state. And you start with small claims, and you go to the magistrate courts, and then superior court, and then the appellate court. So if you're picked for a jury, as long as there is a jury trial, you can be called to serve on a jury. And the pools are assembled by not only voter registration, but also driver's licenses. Now, of course, the regular stipulations apply, like you have to be a U.S. citizen, you cannot have been convicted of a felony. However, if your citizenship rights have been restored to you because you've served your time, probation, whatever, yes, you can serve on a jury. You have to understand the English language, things of that nature. So if you have a disability like my wife, she actually received a summons I think last year sometime, but because of her medical condition, she received a permanent exemption. So. You do that by phone, but you have to do it before you actually appear so they can go through the approval process. I think hers was approved in like one day. But we go there. You have to show up the doors open to the courthouse at 8 o'clock in the morning. I got there about 15 minutes before then, waited outside, and then, of course, you got to go through your security check. Now, the security check consisted of basically a metal detector and no guns, no knives of any kind. Or anything like that. Nothing that can be construed as a weapon. Fingernail clippers. If you bring a knife, they'll confiscate it. You'll never get it back. So I took my knife off. Didn't bring my gun in. I wasn't trying to court trouble or anything like that. Pared my keys down, because even if you have like a multi-tool or like that little screwdriver set that's on my keychain, they'll take it. So I just took my car keys off, put the rest of my keys, locked it in my car, and just went with that. And but what they make you do, they make you take your belt off. And then, of course, you put your cell phone, your keys, all this other stuff in the little white basket you go through. And then if, you set off the metal detector, they wand you. I didn't have that problem. You also have to let them know if you have steel-toed, shoes on or boots on. I don't, or I didn't. So that wasn't a problem. So after you pass through security, you go up to the jury room. It's just a big open room with a bunch of chairs in there and like 2 fair-sized racks of magazines. They had hundreds of magazines there. And when I saw that, I go, oh boy. This sounds like it's shaping up to be an exciting day. And so we get there. Everybody got settled in probably by about 8:15. They validate your parking first, and then they get they give you a little red tag that says juror, and you just clip it onto your shirt, and then you sit down. They had refreshments there. The water was free, but they had vending machines, coffee machine, snack machine, that kind of thing. And then about 8:15 or so, she greets everybody. And one of the judges actually came down and thanked everybody for coming in to serve on a jury. It was very nice. I mean, they realized that it's probably not where we want to be. So they're very kind. They were very open. It's like, look, if you have any questions, ask the jury clerk, and she'll answer any questions. And she was very nice. It's obvious that she's used to dealing with discontent people. And then we watched a video. I think it was probably about 20 minutes on how the process works, what to listen for, basically what your responsibilities are, what disqualifies you from a jury, things of that nature. So when I received the summons, it says my juror number was number 60, and the night before, which was Sunday night, you have to call a number, and a pre-recorded message will tell you what range of jurors are going to be required to report, and of course. 60 was within, I think they went through 80 or something like that. So yes, they had court on President's Day. I don't know why, they just did. So after we see this video, she basically explains the process. There were 2 trials going on that day, one criminal, one civil. And they tried to get a pool for each trial of about 30 potential jurors. And so there's a little over about 68 or 69 of us, I think. And so we knew that we'd be divided up equally between those once they decided to go ahead. But what happened was motion after motion after motion for this and that and some other stuff kept getting put forward before the judges in both cases, from my understanding. And so we were just sitting there. And so around 9 o'clock, we get an hour-long break, which we're allowed to leave the building at this point, but we had to be back by, I don't know, 10:15, whatever it was. And those little red juror tags, we had to wear those no matter where we were. So even if we were out wherever, we had to display the fact that we were a juror, because let's say you went out to eat somewhere, grab breakfast or something like that. If you're in a restaurant where an attorney and his client perhaps are sitting and they see that juror tag, that tells them to stop talking immediately. And the reason being, of course, is that they could be discussing a case that you might hear later. And they want to avoid that kind of thing. So I had this red tag hanging on. I was like, juror, hey, I'm a juror. So I didn't go anywhere that first break because there really wasn't anywhere for me to go. So I picked up some old magazines. Now, when I say old magazines, you think that the magazines in your doctor's offices are old? Usually they're several months, maybe a year old at most. I did not find any magazines from 2011, first of all. The newest one I found was a Sports Illustrated from December of last year. And most of them, a large majority of magazines, were still from 2009. Now, this is the kick in the head. There was one National Geographic from 1998. No. 1988. It was their 100th year commemorative issue from 1888 to 1988. So that's the oldest. I mean, if somebody else has seen an older one in any type of waiting room, you win the prize. But 1988, I think for me, that's the oldest I've ever seen. So I'm reading old magazines, Sports Illustrated, ESPN. I know it's all dated stuff, but a lot of good articles in there. And Popular Mechanics, some road track magazines. So there's nothing else really to do. And I mean, there's refreshments, there's water, there's vending machines, pop machines and stuff like that. But I was content to read and enrich my mind. And so we got a lunch break around 12:15 till 2 p.m. Right before we got broken away for lunch, she had announced that one of the trials, I think it was the civil trial, had been postponed till tomorrow. So we knew half of us would get released at some point. But we just got dismissed for lunch. So we got back. I went to work for a little bit, took care of some stuff there, then came back. And then when we got back around 2 o'clock, we waited some more and waited and waited. And probably about 3:15, she comes out again and she says, okay, they're going to be calling me very soon. So when I call your name, indicate to me verbally that you are here. And so she called out about 30 names. And some people went, oh, dang it, I'm here. So my name wasn't one of the ones that were called. And so basically, those 30 that were called would, as soon as she got the call from upstairs, they would be sent to the courtroom where they would then go through the selection process to be on the jury. So she said, as soon as I get the call, those people, you're going to gather all their things. They're going to gather all their things and leave because they weren't coming back to that room. And so about 10 minutes later, she gets a call. And she comes back out and says, okay, bear with me. This is the story. The other trial has also been postponed until tomorrow because they said it's just too late to go through the selection process, and be out of there by 4:30 or whenever. And so all of us were getting released. So in the state of North Carolina, if you do not get chosen for a jury to serve on a jury panel that day, your obligation is fulfilled for the next 2 years. So in other words, we don't have to come back tomorrow. Another pool is going to come back in tomorrow that will, then the jury will be selected from there. So I don't know if that's fortunate or not. Actually, I was kind of looking forward to going through the process. But obviously, because both trials were postponed until tomorrow, we didn't. And it was aggravating from the standpoint that we just sat there, literally just sat there all day for $12. That's our stipend, $12. So that was my experience. That's the furthest I've ever gotten in the jury selection process. I was summoned once in a different state, but I had an exemption of I can't remember, it was like 20 years ago. So this is the farthest I've ever gotten in the process, and man, I am tired. I am absolutely tired from sitting in a room full of people. I just didn't want to be there and doing nothing, just reading, texting. I mean, I had Burger King for lunch. Woohoo! But That's it. So if you live in North Carolina and you're wondering what the jury selection process is like, that's it. Um, if it's not bad, it's not a horrendous deal. It's just the fact that we had to sit there for, in essence, nothing. But like I said, you can only serve on a jury once every 2 years. So we are exempt, even though we didn't serve, even though we didn't get selected for a panel, even though we didn't even go to the courtroom. Our obligation is fulfilled for the next 2 years. So that's just my little story. I'm sorry this video went so long. I don't know how to say it any shorter. But hey, if you get a chance, I mean, I'd still like to go through the process in a couple of years and see how it actually feels to sit on an actual jury through an actual trial. I was hoping actually for the criminal trial, but like I said, obviously I didn't get selected. But hope that's been informative and somewhat entertaining. And everybody take care.